Hey everyone, so in the last video I went through how to create an Angular project using TypeScript, JavaScript, and the newest version of Angular to render a table of data in the web application. And I thought that this would be to build a little bit upon that we didn't have time for, which is to add Bootstrap CSS styling to the table to jazz it up a little bit and kind of beautify it. So I wanted to take everyone through the steps for adding Bootstrap into an Angular JS web application project. I will show you two different ways to add Bootstrap. One using the CDN Content Delivery Network to include the link and style tag directly into the HTML, and the other way to use NPM install to include Bootstrap as a requirement inside the Angular project itself. We'll talk a little bit about even using Angular's own Bootstrap native framework, and we'll see how we can style a table in Angular. So with that, let's jump right in. So just to give everyone a little bit of a recap, if you take a look, here is our project from last time. The client folder here contains all of our AngularJS code. Here's the key Angular JSON file. This is actually where our styles will end up going. And you can see here I've fired up a JSON server watching a local JSON file, which is our data that will render to the table. So here's what our data looks like. You can see it right here. It's data generated online, some JSON data. And if we flip over to the web browser, we can see that here the endpoint is on localhost 3000 on the data endpoint, and there it is. That's what it looks like. You can access these individual entries if you so choose to. But what we really want to see here is, let's start out. Here's what the application looks like. So this is where we left off yesterday. You can see the table is rendering the data from our database directly into our Angular application. And it's using an Angular service and interface to render this data. But the table is very bare bones. It's very minimal. It's very plain. So we're going to try to add Bootstrap styling to this to see how we can make this look more professional. So the first thing that we need to do is back in code. Let's see here. First, let's start up the Angular application. Okay, and just to make sure that that's running, you can see here, we'll refresh, yeah. So we are up and running right now. Great. So the next step that we're going to do here is, let me show you how you can add it bare bones. So the first thing you can do if you want to do this bare bones is, you can head over to your browser, look for Bootstrap CDN, and you can see it right here. So we just need the CSS and the JavaScript. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy the HTML tag for the CSS. Okay. That goes inside. In your Angular app, go to source and just go to your index.html. This has the core template for your Angular application that will render it into. AppRoot, just like React, AppRoot is where the application renders. And all we need to do is just paste in the CSS file, okay? And then we'll also need to paste in the JavaScript, which we can copy right there. Okay, and we'll paste that in. This can actually go on the bottom at the end of the body for better cacheability. Now at this point, if I save this and take a look back at our browser, okay, if I refresh the page, so it doesn't look any different yet. If we were to add a style, I just want to show an example of what this would look like. If I go into our app, this is our Angular app. We go into the hello component and we go into the HTML template for it. This is where the table renders. And if I were to say table class equals table, table-striped, and I save this. If we take a look back in the web application, you can see now we have Bootstrap styling. So it's fully active. So another example, if we want to go even more with this, we could do table head, class equals t-head dark, and maybe we want to add one more table dash hover. If we save that and we take a look back at the application, you can see now we have the mouse is actually changing the color as we hover over these rows. The rows are striped. And this is how you can add some styling. So just to give you another little example of this, if you go over to the Bootstrap documentation, there are all kinds of styling that you can apply here. So we've already done table done. Okay, let's see what that would look like. So if you go back over here and we go to table-dark, okay, we take a look back at our web application. Yeah, so now we have the table is dark, still has the hover effect. So these are all kinds of different styles that you can add. Let's see if there's anything else that might be interesting in here. Let's see here, t-head dark. We have striped rows. Okay, so there's a lot that you can do here. Table bordered, we haven't added that yet. So let's just give it a try adding table bordered and see if that makes any difference. Table bordered, and I'm going to take off the dark effect. I kind of like it light. We'll save that. And if we take a look back at the table, now we have a nice border around the whole table. So this is looking pretty good. Now, I just want to also show you, so the way that we added this, if we head back over to VS Code for a moment, we did this by pasting in the CDN links for the CSS and HTML, and this is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But the only thing is that the versions, if they get outdated, it can become easier to forget to update these without them being part of your NPM package. So there's another way that we can do this. Instead of putting in the link and the script tag, let's take those out. If we save that file and we take a look back at our browser again, okay, the styling is gone. That's what we expected, right? But what you can do now is, we can do this a different way. We can go over to the console. Okay, make sure you're in the client folder, the folder for your Angular JS application. So mine is called client, yours might be called something else. It's the same folder that has angular.json located in it. So make sure that that's there. And what you want to do now is just do npm install Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons. So this will install the requirements for Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons into your Angular project. So once you've done that, this will make it easier to keep it up to date through package management. So the next thing that we need to do is to go into angular.json and include the references for those. So we're not doing it in index.html anymore. Instead, we're doing it inside Angular JSON. So what you want to do is find the top of your Angular JSON, look for projects, the name of your project, architect, build is what you want. Don't do this under test or it'll go in the wrong place. And under build, look for the styles block, and you're going to add a new style right above this. And what you're going to add is you're going to add node modules / bootstrap / dist. Okay, Copilot's finishing it for us. CSS bootstrap min. So that will include a reference to Bootstrap. We also need to include a reference for the icons. So we'll do node modules, not font awesome, bootstrap icons / fonts, bootstrap, yeah, the rest of that is correct. This will add effectively the CSS link statement into the index.html without you having to type it manually. Finally, we need to add the script tag, which is going to be node modules / bootstrap dist js bootstrap close, we actually want Bootstrap bundle.min.js. You can confirm this if you go into Node Modules, scroll down to Bootstrap. Let's see here. Bootstrap. Then look at dist.js bootstrap bundle.min.js. And this is the file, 5.33 is the version of Twitter Bootstrap that we're using Bootstrap CSS. So save this file, and one thing to note, if you look back at the app, nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed yet. This is because you need to restart the Angular service. So head on back to your console, hit Control-C to kill the Angular service, and restart it again so it reloads that Angular JSON config file. You can see it's building, and now it's loading. If we head back to the browser, take a look at that. So our table is styled again using Angular and Bootstrap CSS, but we no longer included a reference directly to the CSS or JavaScript file. Instead, we've moved those references into NPM. And this is a much more efficient way of maintaining the code. So I've also showed a little bit of a couple of different ways that you can style a table, and the columns and the hover effect and the dark versus the light. And you can find more styles that you can play with directly on the getbootstrap.com website and documentation. And one other thing that I wanted to mention before we close here is that there's also an Angular way to include Bootstrap, and that is by using the ng-bootstrap library. And this will actually give you components like this that you directly on the HTML elements. And this is fine if you prefer to do it this way. However, I actually like to use the classes themselves. I find it's more cross-platform. You never know if you're working in a React project or a C#.NET project using Razor pages, or even a jQuery project or a Vue.js or anything else like that where you want to include Bootstrap CSS styles, not necessarily remembering Angular component names instead. So you can actually do it either way. It's up to you. So you can take a look at this if see which one works better for you. And yeah, so we've walked through how to add Bootstrap into our project using two different methods, static CDN and NPM requirements by NPM install. We've also shown how to update a table in Angular using Bootstrap CSS and applying different styles. And you can see how we've created a nice, professional, clean-looking table in AngularJS using Bootstrap CSS. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos just like this. Thank you.